tell us your name and title?
Sure. Brian D. Siegel. I am the Director of American Jewish Committee's Miami and Broward Regional Office. So I was always interested. Growing up in Birmingham, Alabama, you learn very early about civil rights. You, as a minority as a member of a Jewish community in a very small population, you learn how to speak on behalf of the Jewish community in that population, and also you learn about the Holocaust as a young Jewish person. You learn about world events, I think, at an earlier stage than a lot of other folks. So for me, this was always something of interest. I pursued during college an interest in interethnic relations, reaching out on behalf of the Jewish community to other religious groups, ethnic leaders. And so both in my academic pursuits at the University of Texas, but also extracurricularly through student government, through outreach on campus to the African American community and to others, we built some really great programs and initiatives. We have an office here. We have 6 staff members. Mm-hmm. We have a board of directors of really highly engaged, dynamic, talented volunteer leaders in this community, in this Jewish community, from many different professions, and it's a very diverse group of people with different viewpoints, but all committed to the mission of AJC and to trying to work on behalf of AJC to build community, to address the issues that we care about. So Miami is really such an exciting place to do this work. And I had worked in AJC's national office in New York for 2 years doing interreligious affairs around the world. So I was a little concerned by leaving New York and coming to Miami, but I've been incredibly impressed. And I think for AJC, which is a global organization, that in a world that is so interconnected now, more than ever, I think that AJC, it's important for us to have a presence in cities that are truly global. Mm-hmm. Miami fits that description. We have diplomats stationed here. We have trade offices. We have binational chambers of commerce, academics at some really excellent institutions of higher learning here who deal specifically with foreign affairs. And people who've traveled all over the world and who are from all over the world. So for the type of work that AJC does on the international affairs arena, Miami is such a perfect place to really engage in this work. Both through AJC, we've hosted many visiting ambassadors from countries all over the world. So when they come in from Washington, D.C., or from foreign capitals, because AJC has built credibility over time, diplomats and officials understand that when we engage in conversations, we know how to use discretion. We listen as well as talk, mm-hmm. which I think is an incredibly important piece of being an effective advocate. So in terms of Miami, it's really a remarkable place to do this work on the international scale. I've had opportunities to engage in dialogue and roundtable discussions through other organizations in Miami too that have a presence here. So University of Miami's Center for Hemispheric Policy, run by Susan Kaufman-Purcell. I've engaged in conversations through the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition, which advocates for the foreign affairs budget of the United States and has a Florida advisory board that I sit on. The Council on Foreign Relations has programs here and some very dynamic and important people who engage in these conversations locally as well as nationally. So Miami, I really think, has become an important place to be on the global scale. Another thing that makes Miami really unique, I think, in terms of the type of work we do is how diverse it is. So in terms of AJC's efforts to strengthen basic principles of pluralism and try and help people understand that diversity should be a source of strength and not division, Miami couldn't be a more important place to be, because we have people from all over the world. You know, we live in a very polarized time, and I think there needs to be more efforts to bring people together, to learn about each other's backgrounds, culture, and then to start to address some of the issues that we face, both on a local, national, and international level. So at AJC, we've done that through a variety of innovative programs that we've tried to put together that address these concerns that we have on international issues, but also to foster this sort of mutual understanding between different groups so that there's less misunderstandings and there's less animosity. So the final sort of point I'll make about why Miami is, I think, unique for this type of work, or I guess rather the way to put it is why for me it's been such a great place to be, is I think there's less artificial barriers to getting meetings with very high level officials and business leaders. My experience has been that when people see that you are doing something positive, that you're acting as an agent of change on a positive way, that people at the very highest level of local government, business, foundations, are willing to take meetings and willing to talk about issues and really are trying to foster a sense of community and really being open to having new people come in and try and make this community better. And for me, that's been a really positive thing because I've lived in cities that have not been that open, and that if you don't have a particular family name or pedigree, it's much more difficult to get a seat at the table. And Miami, I found, you know, really, really open in that way. There was a recent survey done by the Greater Miami Jewish Federation that was conducted to basically study the population of Miami-Dade's Jewish community. It was done by Dr. Ira Sheskin from the University of Miami, and some very interesting results came out of it. According to the study, the Jewish community experienced a 9% population growth in the past 10 years, so somewhere around 120,000. And also, we are the Jewish community that has the highest percentage of foreign-born adults, which showed to be around 33%. It's also a Jewish community that has, and by the way, I mean, that's Jewish community from Latin America, from the former Soviet Union. We're seeing a lot of Israelis who've come here, and we're also seeing more and more from Europe, partly because of rising anti-Semitism, but partly because Miami is a destination where people want to be. The final thing I'll say is that in that study that was conducted, it showed that Miami has the strongest connection to Israel of any U.S. Jewish population in terms of people who have traveled to Israel or have expressed a strong emotional attachment to Israel.